I want to talk about some Bible verses in this one. I have some Christian friends, and it's almost easier for me these days to get along with my Christian friends than my secular friends. My name is Tim. I create videos that shed light on the absurdities of modern society, as well as highlight humanity's creativity, resilience, and compassion. I believe we need to start publicly acknowledging that capitalism is doing more harm than good. It's important that we talk about sustainable and ethical alternatives, not on the sidelines, but in the mainstream. If you doubt that this will ever happen, I ask that you consider that your very doubt is a reflection of how insidiously controlling our system is. How healthy is it to be so resistant to change that you'd rather tolerate endless violence than even discuss it? This is a touchy subject and my style may not be for everyone, but if my videos do resonate with you, please leave a like. When you have a laissez-faire approach to life, you tend to get swept up in things, you going with the flow, and then you find yourself kind of really lost, I think. Not always, and they tend to be really good at discerning things, truths of things. So it's like kind of 50-50-ish, but lately though, I really like how my Christian friends are humble and they're hardworking, compassionate, and devoted to something higher than themselves. I really appreciate that. So the Bible verses that I want to mention are as follows. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some people, eager for money, have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many gifts. 1 Timothy 6:10. Then he said to them, watch out, be on guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in an abundance of possessions. Luke 12:15. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Matthew 6:24. So money is just like one thing that's mentioned in the Bible out of many, 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 many things. And in my religion, which happens to be Buddhism, there's also like all sorts of different topics of discussion. But I'm mentioning this one because I really want to drive home the point that I believe that most people are either ready to accept that capitalism is causing all sorts of problems and is inherently corrupt, or if they looked a little bit closer to their Bibles or their ancient texts or their Quran, or what's the third one? I don't think this is right, but I did a Google search and it says the Hebrew Bible is called Tanakh. Could have sworn there was some other third big one, but I don't know. Sorry. So I'm not here to like preach and call people hypocrites or anything, because there's just so much information out there, and even within whatever your religious texts are, it can be hard to translate and stuff. But I really want to point out that most people are either ready, or if they were to look closer at these guidelines that they do value, if they were to look a little bit closer, read a little more in the fine print, they would recognize that they should doing some inner work and contemplation, and then they'd arrive at the understanding that it makes sense to constantly question money and the economy, and therefore question capitalism. Because remember, as it was stated in Matthew, you cannot serve both God and money. Are you loving your brothers and sisters as yourself, loving thy neighbor as yourself? Are you confessing your sins daily and trying to get closer to God, to be more Christ-like? Are you metaphorically flipping tables on fascists? Are you offering charity to the meek? Do you want to end poverty and hunger like Jesus advocated for? Life does not consist in an abundance of possession. Are we making sure we're not getting caught up in materialism? What is more valuable to us, a giant house, sports cars, and fame, or love and serving something higher than yourself? And are we not surrounded by self-serving, materialistic, egoic, spiritually hollow, addiction-ridden folks who love to post pictures about their things? Is it more common on social media to see pictures of people's vacations and the homes they bought or the car they bought, the fun they had out at a night out on a bar? Or is it more common to see people posting pictures about them helping others? To be fair, it's kind of not a very humble thing to post pictures of yourself helping others, because it's like, see, look how great I am. But still, a lot of people have strayed pretty damn far from God, if you're using that terminology, which I'm trying to address Christians in this video. And with how many people have strayed from God, does it not invoke some sort of responsibility on your part as someone who loves Jesus, accepts him in your heart, accepts his teachings, is there not pressure on you to be as clear as you can about Jesus' teachings? Who are you serving? Because you cannot serve both God and money. I don't think God would have been an advocate for communism, but I don't think he'd be an advocate for capitalism either. And it's not like those are the only two options. Like, there are way better ways that we can serve God without money, or without money ruling over everything that society does, anyway. Because damn near everything in society is built on the foundation of serving money first. Like, you can't do much at all in life unless you have money. So that becomes the priority over everything else, because that's the system we live in. But we could have a system that's like the opposite and is serving God more than money, right? So why is this not something that every Christian out there talks about? I don't understand that, and I would love feedback on that. But more importantly than feedback, maybe if you could just think about what I'm saying. Think about how this is logical, and it's like what Jesus preached. You cannot serve both God and money. So it makes a ton of sense then to question capitalism, right? And ask ourselves if there's something more Christ-like than capitalism. And I believe there totally is. And I know there's a lot of secular friends of mine that totally support it, as well as other friends who are in other different religion. But I truly, truly, truly believe that most people are ready to at least talk about this stuff. And I think we need to talk about it publicly, not on the sidelines, but in the mainstream. Stop shying away from it. In Buddhism, we have our precepts and the Eightfold Path and all that stuff that disciplines us in a way that has us contemplating this stuff too. And secular friends, while they may not have religious texts to guide them, a lot of them do have compassion in their hearts, and many of them value logic, and it doesn't matter the conclusion is the same, whether you're using compassion or logic or religious texts. All three of those things arrive at the same conclusion, that capitalism is not serving humanity or God's will. So please do your inner work. Pray for insights. Pray for guidance. Pray for wisdom and compassion. Challenge your limiting beliefs. Challenge what you've been told and never questioned. Because we've all been taught, to some extent, by the very society that we live in. We've all been conditioned to support this system because that's how we survive. But at the same time, it's also destroying us because it's not serving the whole. It's not serving God. Life is not easy. If you're not struggling like crazy, then you're usually caught up in misguided desires that end up causing suffering and making life not easy again. And I think a lot of people who are actually doing okay in this economy, they forget that you can't take money with you when you die. And sooner or later, the money's going to run out. And you're going to have to start serving something else, whether that's in heaven or in your next life, or if it runs out while you're still alive, then in this lifetime. And then what? Then we can start serving God. We can start serving humanity, the whole. We can start actually looking at what it actually takes to end hunger and poverty. And the answer is not in politics. There's so many people that I know we all pretty much want the same damn thing when it comes to politics, but then we get caught up in how that's going to happen, how we fund certain things, what restrictions we place, and all this crap. And it's a giant distraction, politics. I hate politics. I don't think God or Jesus, I don't think they would have liked politics either, right? Like, did they not? Like, wasn't that all the whole table throwing thing? It's like politicians are snakes, right? Why? So, like, that doesn't mean, like, the politicians that you don't like are snakes. It means all of them have that tendency and absolutely are in some way, especially when they're all living in this system, this finite, flawed, sinful system. No human is immune to sin, right? So why are we not making it easier to avoid sin? Like, we can't make a perfect society. Absolutely not. Like, there's always going to be some sin, right? But, like, we can, like, a church is a place that you go to. You have sanctuary, you have brotherhood and sisterhood, you do Bible studies together, you support one another. And society is supposed to be a greater extension of that, right? And the idea is that you do the best you can, not just in your own life, in your own heart, but when you're interacting with people, not just the people in your religion, but all people in society. And that's what voting is and all that crap that's within the political spectrum. But we can do way better than what we're doing right now. And everyone wants to. Not everyone, but most people want to. Religious folks, secular folks, Christians, Buddhists, Jews, and atheists. Because, again, whether you're using compassion or religious texts, teachings, or logic, you're arriving at the same conclusion. Atheists, they want this too because it's logical. So I don't understand where the disconnect is, why we need to fight each other. No, I don't think we want to. We really don't. Like, it's like a habit that we've gotten into because we make all these assumptions, but we really don't want to fight each other, right? Like, we want a better life for ourselves and for the people we love. And if you're Christian, that you should be loving everyone as your brother and stuff. So what is the holdup? There shouldn't be one, right? Please think about these words. Please take them to heart, because like we're dying. We're slowly destroying ourselves and the planet, and we don't need to. It's so unnecessary. And I personally hate it. I hate how I've struggled so much my whole life for crap wages and stuff. And if you don't think the minimum wage should be raised because that's not within your beliefs or whatever, that's fine. That's not exactly what I'm talking about. We don't need to have wages at all because we can transcend money, because you cannot serve both God and money. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about a resource-based economy where people do not have to show up to work, busting their asses off all week, becoming addicted to things, getting pulled into sin, being pulled into praising money before God, or above God rather, where they have the time to be with their families, to go to their churches, to let more heart into their lives, and express that love. The world is on fire. We need to come together. And there is so much common ground that we can come together on, including talking about how capitalism is destroying the planet, and we can talk about way better shit, a resource-based economy, and that doesn't have to be like that doesn't have to look like what it's been prescribed by philosophers or whatever. The concepts are what matter. Please hear the logic in my words, hear the compassion in my words, hear the conviction in what I'm saying, and make one or more of those your own, please. Please. This is really good news. Like, truly, most people are ready to put God above money. That doesn't mean most people are going to use that word God. They might use the word universe or compassion or whatever, but most people are ready to talk about this, and they're ready to manifest a better society for ourselves. There's a quote by a Christian named Timothy Keller, lives in New York. I don't think he's a pastor or anything though, just a commentator. But he said, "Our Christian hope is that we are going to live with Christ in a new earth, where there is not only no more death, but where life is what it was always meant to be." Are you all not instructed to at least have the intention to have your best effort of bringing heaven to earth, right? Someone named Joni Erekson Tada said, "The best we can hope for in this life is a knot-hole peek at the shining realities ahead. Yet a glimpse is enough. It's enough to convince our hearts that whatever sufferings and sorrow currently assail us aren't worthy of comparison to that which awaits over the horizon." And here's one on optimism. "Optimism is a wish without warrant. Christian hope is a certainty, guaranteed by God himself. Optimism reflects ignorance as to whether good things will eventually come. Christian hope expresses knowledge that everyday life is his life, and every moment beyond it. The believer can say with truth, on the basis of God's own commitment, that the best is yet to come." And I want to be clear, I don't think he's talking about just optimism general. Like, I'm thinking this is realistic optimism, not naive optimism or detached, complacent optimism where you're just lazy and be like, God will take care of it. No, we have work to do. We have work to do, and the best is yet to come. Pope Francis said, "This is Christian hope, that the future is in God's hands." Not that God's just going to do everything for us. Again, I think that means that he's just going to be more present in our future lives, which is awesome. It's something to celebrate. But we have to address capitalism. One final quote. "God sees us as we are, loves us as we are, and accepts us as we are. But by his grace, he does not leave us as we are. By his grace, we are transformed," right? We grow, we evolve, if I may use that word. I know it's kind of in opposition to the creationist view, but I just mean like we grow. It doesn't mean that life started by accident or anything. I'm not trying to talk about the Big Bang Theory or anything. God accepts us as we are, but by His grace, He does not leave us as we are. Through His teachings and through accepting Christ and God into our hearts, we become something bigger than we were before. We serve something bigger than ourselves. So please, please, please think on these things. Thank you. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to stay up to date with even better content as I evolve and improve. If it feels right, consider leaving a comment. I'd be happy to read any questions or topic requests you may have. But whatever you do, please take care of yourself. As Desmond Tutu said, "My humanity is bound up in yours, for we can only be human together."